How to debunk the Trinity in less than 30 seconds. Okay, so the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are each 100% God. That means they should have 100% of the attributes of God. So question for Christians, is Jesus independent of God the Father or dependent on God the Father? If he's independent of God the Father, that's two ultimate independent existences, meaning two gods. If Jesus is dependent on God the Father, he cannot be 100% God, as God is 100% independent. So which do you prefer?
Now, this sounds like a problem for Christians, but only if you don't understand the Trinity or if you intentionally strawman it. Let me explain. My Muslim friend's error here is known as the false dilemma logical fallacy. Either Christ is dependent on the Father in any sense and is not God, or he is independent in any sense and is therefore a separate being, meaning Christians believe in at least two separate gods. The truth is far more complex than his framing allows. So let's answer the question. God the Son is indeed dependent on the Father in a relational sense, which is something we see addressed in the doctrine of eternal generation. But clarifying definitions is helpful here. If by dependent my Muslim friend means that Jesus does not in his own right possess the attribute of aseity or self-existence, then no, Jesus is not dependent. However, if by independent he means that Jesus could exist separately from the Father as another being, the answer is no. And in that sense, there is a relational dependence. Here's why. The one true God of the universe exists eternally as three inseparable persons with one divine essence. Each member is co-equal, co-eternal, and consubstantial, meaning of one essence. There is no God without the Trinity. If you were to remove one member of the Trinity, in the case of this argument, the Son, then you would be talking about a different being entirely. So in that sense, there is an interdependence within the Trinity. But doesn't that mean then that Jesus isn't self-existent and therefore Jesus cannot be God? Well, no. Because the divine essence that each member of the Trinity shares and possesses is what makes them God. Jesus possesses this fully and in his own right. The Son's self-existence in Christian theology doesn't refer to the Son's personhood, it refers to his essence. Identical to God's essence is his attributes, one of which is aseity or self-existence. This is why Jesus is dependent in a relational sense, but independent from the perspective of his right to share in the divine essence. Christ does not depend on the Father for access to the divine attributes. He has, in his own right, eternally possessed self-existence and all of the other attributes that make God who he is. In that sense, he is independent. The same is true for the Father and the Spirit. So doesn't that mean that Christians believe in three separate gods? No, because there is only one being in the universe that possesses those attributes. There are only three persons that possess those attributes, and Jesus Christ is one of them. Together with the Father and the Spirit, Jesus is God, the one true God of the Bible. And yes, that God is dependent on himself.